All right, so this is where we left this, and I'm waiting for my smart presentation to come up, but that's okay. This is where we left this at the end of our lesson a couple days ago. And let's scroll down to the bottom here so these are in the right location. So, did anybody solve out whether or not our boss knows how to do math? Anthony?
He doesn't.
He does not. Because if we look at our raise, and if you don't have the work for this, I highly encourage that you write this out. He tells me that the raise is going to be 8% of my current wage. So we could say 8% of wage, by the way, is not like when you wage a war. It's wage is what you make. So I could say my raise will be, now my percent, I have to do the division by 100 to get it into the term that I can do the math with. Of tells me to multiply the wage I was making, $7.50. And Anthony, what'd you get that the raise should be?
60 cents.
60 cents. So either my boss is trying to pull one over on me and only give me 55 cents, or he maybe used the wrong percent value, or if we really give him the benefit of the doubt, which means like be forgiving, think that there was no bad intention, maybe he didn't know what I was making. So like what if I did 8% of $7 and forgot the 50 cents? What would 8% of just $7 be? There, you got it?
56 cents.
56 cents. So that's closer. So maybe he just didn't know what I was making. Or, I mean, maybe he was just trying to pull one over. So you never know. But you would then in that case want to politely go inform your boss that he is unaware of the correct formulas or application of this percent word. So your friend has given you a gift certificate for a haircut. That's kind of like one of those gifts that's like, okay, so you think my hair looks bad. But your friend gives you a gift certificate for a haircut. Kind of a subtle hint of a gift. And that gift certificate, we want to know, is it going to be enough to leave a tip as well? So the receptionist says, I should leave a $3 tip based off the price of the haircut that I just had. And the receptionist also tells me, well, that's 20% of your haircut, because a 20% tip is standard. That's pretty traditional. If it's a tippable position, you would tip 20%. You don't have to, but the next time you go back there and they remember that you didn't tip when you should have, they might hack off half your hair. Like, that's not necessarily a real, like, concern, but honestly, like, if you go and you get services from somebody who works a position where they make tips, and that's part of what they make, it's really rude not to tip them. Because that's the only way that they can make decent money. Otherwise, they make just what they get paid per hour, which is normally not very much. Jaheim? Yeah. Right. Is it automatic or you still make the choice? Yeah. Some places automatically put in the tip. So that is called gratuity. When it's put in automatically, tip is like what you decide extra. Gratuity is you've got to pay this extra because you got a service. Casey?
My parents say to tip morning, like breakfast waiters and waitresses, like extra.
I mean, they had to get up real early. And they probably make less money off the food. I mean, if you think about how much money people are spending, if you look at somebody going out to dinner, and I mean, I'm pretty straightforward with you guys. If you look at somebody going out to dinner, they might get some wine, some beer, some whatever. That's going to be a lot more expensive than somebody going to breakfast and getting coffee. You know what I mean? So the people, when you look at percentage, a percentage of the dinner versus a percentage of the morning, dinner is going to be more expensive to begin with. So it is nicer to tip those morning people a little bit better. We got to keep moving because I'm sure we've all got stories like this. And we'll take more stories as we go through. But let's just finish this up. We don't know the price of the haircut. So if we're thinking about a tip compared to the actual price, would the tip be the part, the percent, or the whole? Justin? It'd be part, right? That's not the total of what you owe them. That's not a percent value. That's part of your price. So we want to set up our formula. I'm going to write up here. I would suggest that you guys write down here, but I don't want to crouch. So we know that part equals percent times whole. So my part is $3. That is 20% or 0.20 hundredths of the price of the haircut. To solve for the price, I got to get it alone. How do I get my price by itself? How do I isolate, which means get by itself? Bella? Divide. Yeah, we divide by the 20 hundredths on both sides. Now, guys, we do this on both sides because in an equation, if I only do something to one side, that's not equal. That's not fair. So in an equation, it is the core definition of being fair. You have to do things to everything, like both sides. So this division cancels out to be 1 times the price, and 1 times the price is just the price. So my price comes out to be, what is it? $15. So what would you need total to pay for the haircut and the tip? Justin? $18.
So if you're gonna pay 20%, 20% is like 100, and each 20 is $3. You just multiply it.
Yeah, you could. So Justin's saying another way we could do this is say that 20% is really 1/5. So if the tip was 3, and that's 1/5, then we know that the price of the haircut had to be 15. That's the proportional way to solve that. Yeah. The haircut. If I only pay for the haircut, I pay $15. If I also give a tip, that increases my price to a total 18. So this is the haircut. I'm just going to say the cut slash, not slash, and the tip. So the 15 plus the 3. Any other questions from this lesson? All right, get out the 3.2 notes with the, I believe there's cars on the front of it. You know what's sad? That's exactly what went through my head too. When I think about cars, vroom vroom is the first thing that goes in my head. Actually, it's more like vroom. So my brother, while we're talking about cars, while you guys are getting out your notes, I'm very jealous of my brother. For one of his friends' bachelor parties, they went to Canada and they went to the Formula One race. He said that's like the loudest thing he's ever heard. Like they all, like everyone's wearing like earmuffs and earplugs, and it's still super loud. And there was a crash right next to them. But the fence that they use for Formula One, it's like steel, but like steel tubes, like square, but they're still like tubes because they're hollow, and then steel cable. So it's not like a chain link, like aluminum fence, or like it is a solid fence. So it was very, very cool. Those cars go over 200 miles an hour. It's insane. Because people pay lots of money to watch it, and it makes lots of money for the people that sponsor it. It's all money. I mean, you could break your leg playing field hockey. I could be safer in a NASCAR because it's got an airbag. I broke my arm playing basketball in the front driveway. Like, I wasn't doing anything dangerous. I used to ride BMX bikes where I'm like off my bike in midair, and I never really hurt myself. Broke my arm playing basketball, which I don't play basketball. So, all right. Fine. So there was a trampoline, like a small trampoline right below the basketball hoop. So we would jump off the trampoline to slam dunk. I missed with my left arm, and guys, you've seen my 7th grade picture. I was a big kid. I swung around sideways and then let go, and I fell on my arm. I broke my own arm, literally. So there was trampoline arm on the edge of the metal part of the trampoline, and then my body. And it just... So you know how right here's 2 bones?
Good for you.
One of them just cracked.
Mr. Hudson, that changes the whole scenario. Like, oh, you broke your arm in the field. Well, you were trying to like LeBron dunk.
I did not have a handful of flour or baby powder. All right, let's talk about percent application. Enough off-topic time. All that we're getting into is various applications of the same formulas that we've already been using. So understand that none of this is really new. It's different application. So if you're looking for the sales tax on an item, and a lot of times people just call that tax, but when you buy something, that's sales tax because they made a sale. That is going to be whatever the tax rate is. Rate, instead of using the word percent, we're now going to be using the word rate. So I would underline or highlight or something. That's just taking the place of when we used to say percent. Because specifically, rate is the decimal form. Percent has the percent sign on it. So when we talk about that decimal value, it's really a rate value. And then times the whole, which is the price of the item. Here's the part that people get goofed up on. Once I calculate the tax, like we just did up here, once I calculate the tip, to find the total, I take what I had originally, my price of the item, and I add that extra amount onto it. So to find the total, I take the tax and the original, put them together, and you always end up paying more than what you actually thought, unless it's food. Food does not need tax. And actually, the law is that food doesn't get taxed, depending on what kind of food, because it's a necessity. They don't tax necessity items. So, and you could go to the grocery store and figure out what gets taxed and what doesn't, because when you look at the receipt, it separates it. At least I know Kroger does. I'll try to bring in one of my Kroger receipts. It separates, like, grocery items that aren't taxed versus, like, merchandise items that are taxed. Like, if I buy a jacket at Kroger, I'm paying tax on that. If I buy a watermelon, I'm probably not paying tax on that. Certain square water, yeah, they grow those in just square boxes. So, all that to say, you normally end up paying extra. Using subtraction, though, is when we apply percent values, like when you're making money. Hey, guys, are we cool, or do I need to, like, move people? Okay, because I've shot some glances, and it's not working. So, now I'm having to waste class time. So, commission. Can anyone explain commission? Anyone know? Anybody's parents make commission? I miss making commission. That was great.
Well,
Xavier?
commission is like if you make a sale, like take your like jewelry store job.
Yeah.
When you sell something, that ends up coming back into like commission.
Mm-hmm.
For you, like paychecks.
So, let's say that you are working a commission-based job, and you sell me a $100 necklace, right? So I give you $100 for this necklace. And this is like the rule of how it works. Really what happens is Xavier goes, all right, that much is mine. The store can have this. So Xavier gets his chunk of it. Does the store still make money? Yeah. Did they make as much? No. So the trick is Xavier's happy because he made extra money for making the sale. The store's happy because Xavier wants to make the sale. If I didn't make commission at my jewelry job, I could have just stood there and done nothing. Oh, hey, nice day. How are you? But instead, if you're encouraged to sell items, you're up. You're engaged. You're saying, hey, man, those are very nice earrings. I have a necklace that would go nice with this. You're trying to get sales because every sale you make makes you money. And I don't know if I've told it to this class before or not. When I started teaching, I made less teaching than I had made at Macy's. Commission jobs are very lucrative. It means it can make you a lot of money. So, how that comes back to subtraction, though, is if Xavier made commission, if Justin's the store. He doesn't get as much. So you take the initial price that Justin, the store, priced it at, take away however much Xavier took, and then we get what the store actually gets. Yeah. No, well, depends on, like, if it was Xavier's store, maybe. But if Xavier's an employee of the store controls it. So it's going to be some percent value. Now, the trick is, if Xavier can't change the percent he's getting, let's say he gets 10%, how could he increase how much money he gets? You could ask for a raise, or, so let's say I'm looking at a $100 necklace and a $400 necklace. Which one do you think Xavier wants me to buy? The $400. Because if I increase my selling price, then this percent of my selling price, the percent doesn't need to change. If my selling price goes up, everything goes up. Like what I make, my commission that I make goes up. Any other questions about this before we start to apply it? All right. So, come on, capture. There we go. Our soccer team is grand champions, let's just say. So we go out to celebrate, and we go to the spaghetti factory or warehouse or whatever company. They have hamburgers and spaghetti. I don't know if I would trust a place that has hamburgers and spaghetti. But we have a subtotal of $142. What is the difference between a subtotal and a total? And this receipt kind of shows it to you. CJ, do you know? Subtotal happens before tax. Now, wait a minute. I thought I just told you guys that food doesn't get taxed. Justin?
Well, it's like a bought food. It's like processed. You go to the grocery store, that's food you're going to live on. But this food, like, you go out for like,
Yeah. Is going to a restaurant a necessity? No. So when you go to a restaurant, the whole idea that food doesn't get taxed, that's out the window. You're getting taxed at that restaurant. So the subtotal comes out to be $142. And the team's like, oh, crap. We only brought $175. So they have enough to cover the subtotal. But that's not what they're worried about. What they're worried about is the tax is an extra 5%. So when we want to calculate the tax, you guys should be writing this out with me. The tax is going to be 5% of the subtotal. The tax is going to be 5% of the subtotal. So what do I do in this problem to figure out how much the tax is, Hayden? Which becomes 0.05. Remember, we moved that decimal 2 places. What? Yeah, times the subtotal, which was 142. That will give me that my tax that we pay is actually going to come out to be, anybody?
$7.01.
10 cents, I believe. Check your decimal places. All I did was find 10%, which was 14.2, and then cut that in half. Didn't need a calculator. So now, to find the total that the team owes, we take our subtotal, add your tax with it, and we get a total of $149.10. All right, sigh of relief. We have enough money. And then, that one nice student says, but wait, you forgot the tip. And you're like, ah, crap. We got to tip this server because we had the whole soccer team in here and they were a bunch of hooligans and there's paper towels all over the place and they spilled 3 drinks and the pizza's on the ceiling. We got to tip this lady. So, when you have a big party, and this may or may not have happened to you when you go out to eat, if you have over 6 people, because normally a family's under 6 people, they automatically charge you, and for some reason they've chosen 18%. So if 20% is the normal what you should tip if you're nice, the restaurant says, okay, we won't make you tip 20, we'll bring it down 2%. Huh, such a big change. And they only make you tip 18%, but a lot of times this is not optional. It goes into your bill. And they have a restaurant policy, you cannot disagree with it, that if you have a large party, like Olive Garden does this, if you have a large party, gratuity, fancy name for required tip, automatically gets added. So now let's figure out how much that tip is going to be. A lot of your parents, sorry to tell you, a lot of your parents probably tip wrong, and it's costing them more money. When you calculate the tip, you actually should be calculating the percent of the subtotal. But a lot of receipts make this stuff so small and this so big that that's what your parents see and that's what they tip off of. But they shouldn't actually be tipping off of that because that includes your tax. They should be tipping based off your 142. So when we go to calculate this tip, we're going to say that our tip is 18% of the subtotal. And remember, guys, there's Post-its. If you run out of space, if you need an extra Post-it for on your paper. So exactly the process Hayden already walked us through. We take our 18%, turn it into a decimal. Maylee, what is 18% as a decimal? Yeah, so we divide it by 100, we get 0.18. Of our subtotal is still the 142. That's still the value that I'm working with. And when I calculate that, so we should be tipping $25.56. Hayden, what would we do next?
Well, you add the tip with the total, which I already got the answer.
To find out if we have enough money, let's add up everything that I need to pay. What is it?
It is 174 points.
Do we have enough money?
Yes.
Just barely. Colin?
I said that.
Yeah, you're good. Just tell her I didn't have time to write you a pass. Just go. It's a bloody nose. Will somebody walk with him? Will somebody catch it? Yeah, if his nose is bleeding, just make sure he doesn't pass out. Thank you. If your blood pressure drops, sometimes your bloody nose is an indicator of like a blood pressure change. If your blood pressure drops too quickly, you can not really pass out, but you can kind of you can get dizzy enough that we'd be worried if you fall over.
Lightheaded.
Yeah, like an extreme. And some of you guys may have, if you stand up really quickly and you get that weird oh I gotta that. That's your blood pressure changing. It normally only does that if you've been still for a long time and your blood is just settled and then you change real quick. It's not going to work right now. You're doing too much. All right, so let's talk about car salesmen. My buddy Alex Clark is a CarMax salesman. They moved him to California. That's not who's getting married next week. They moved him to California because he's so good at selling cars. I'm not joking. They told him to go to California. So, if we went to buy a car at a car dealership, they make, depending on the dealership, they normally make commission based off the car. Why do you think a dealership would pay somebody commission based around a percent of the sale that they make? Why? What's the point of commission? I've kind of alluded to this, Izzy? Yeah, it's to encourage the workers. Well, apparently CarMax's system works so well that my buddy Alex has been taken to Cleveland to open up a new store and is now in California because they have so much incentive to sell. Here's the problem, though. If he doesn't sell any cars, how much money does he make? $0. So I think, don't quote me, especially you watching on YouTube, don't quote me that CarMax works exactly like that, but I'm fairly certain it is commission only. Now, when I worked at Macy's or most stores, it's commission plus base. And plus base means you get a pay no matter what, your commission's bonus. So at this car lot, we get 6% per car. I think you guys can solve these questions. For each of these, we want to solve how much would the salesperson make. That's going to be part A. And part B is going to be how much does the car lot make. So we're going to answer part A and part B for both of these. How much does the car salesperson, sorry, I keep saying salesman, salespeople, and how much does the lot make? You guys can check with partners close by you. I'll give you 90 seconds, 30 seconds per car. That's plenty of time. You need help? I'll help you. You got it? Or do you say, okay, you want help? So if we're going to do 6% of the car price, but I think you're actually making this harder than it needs to be. Oh, no, so you can leave that if you want, but we should kind of be able to by now know that that's what we have to do. So you don't have to write it out. We can just do it in the calculator if you want. So the first thing that I always do when calculating these is I do my percent value divided by 100, and I just get that. So I do the 6 in this case divided by 100. You can't use the percent button. So if you're going to do the division by 100, don't use the percent button. If you use the percent button, don't do the division by 100. So we do that, hit enter to get your answer. Then hit top 8 because it grabs that last answer. And now I'm going to do the percent of whatever the car costs. So I just multiply. And now since I know that 0.06, I can just type that in for all of my mix of that car and then that car. Make sense? Anybody else are going to need some help? Well, the one she's doing is A, like for the commission that the person makes. But then to solve B, how much the dealership makes, it's how much is left over. Yeah, so what you just calculated is I know. Wait till you get to the sports car. And that's only 6%. 6% is not that high. I need to call Macy's and check what their percent is. I'm pretty sure I was making 9%. I really want to say that I was. So let's talk about our blue car together. So Julia, since you whined and then I know exactly what you did, so I'm going to pick on you. Since you whined about how much time I gave you. So how do I figure out how much money the salesperson made off my blue car?
Well, first you would do 6 divided by 100.
Yeah, and that got us our 0.06.
And then you would do that times 16,800.
And how much did he end up making?
1,008.
$1,008. Get in the habit of the decimal point and the zeros. So then to find how much the dealership made, yeah, well, somebody already said it. Everyone knows it, hopefully. We subtract. So we get
15,792. That's pretty good.
So you think the dealership's happy? They made $15,000, almost $800, and this salesperson just made $1,000, just like that. Depends on the dealership. So like my buddy Clark, we might be out like at a trivia night, out to dinner. He'd get a call and he'd say, "Guys, I gotta take this. It's a client. He's trying to sell cars. He's not at work, but he will pick up the phone and start working because it could make him $1,000."
So you could get like thousands of dollars in a week.
Yeah. If you're good at your job, God, this is what I'm talking about. Like why I teach, why I want you guys to understand this stuff. If you understand how this stuff works, why would you go get $10 at McDonald's when you could walk down the road and get commission on selling things? Dude, I get excited. I'm sorry. It happens. When you make a tackle, you get excited. When I see people engaging with math, I get excited. So, understanding math is how you make, and I hate to say this, but it's how you make more money, which is how you make your life better. Money does not equal happiness. However, it's hard to be happy if you're broke. So, the red car. We do the same process with that. He gets the same percentage. Casey, how much would my salesperson make? 1,500. 24. Sorry, I just couldn't hear you. Don't forget your comma. Don't forget your decimal. So then, how much is left over for the dealership to make? $23,876. Which do you think the dealership would prefer that you sold? The blue car or the red car? Which do you think that the salesperson would choose for you to sell? Yeah, if it's more expensive, everybody makes more money. And the sports car, our little like rice rocket here, Lily. Never heard that, like imported Hondas and Toyotas that get all like tweaked up. I had a '94 Honda Civic, and people used to make fun of me because they're like, oh yeah. It was just a nice car.
Okay, so first you do 0.06 times 33,000.
Yep, and that gives you 1,980. Guys, if you sell this car, you make almost $2,000. Then what's left over for the dealership? Left over for the dealership is
And then you have
$31,020 left over. Any questions on how we calculated any of these commissions? Hayden?
No, I have a question. So, if you're the boss, would you get paid that or no?
It would split to like dealership costs and all that stuff. Like, and you had to pay for the car initially to get the car at the lot. Some of this amount that the dealership gets has already been spent to get the car there. You know, like initially, like the car doesn't cost nothing. We don't get all of that as profit, but the commission the person makes, they get all of that. Like that commission is yours in your pocket. You probably have to pay taxes on it, but if I make almost $2,000, I'm not going to be too upset about my taxes, unless I'm Trump.
You know how the salesman talked to the manager? Does the manager sell cars too?
That's all a big hoax. Like, they just go back into a room and drink a cup of coffee. That's my opinion. When they say, oh, let me go check with my manager, it's just a big waste of time. I absolutely abhor, which is like a word like hate, but even further, I abhor spending time at car dealerships. When I went to buy the car that I own, I already had met with the person. I already told him, this is the car I'm buying. This is the price I'm paying. We had no negotiations. When we went to buy my wife's car, I wanted to like just walk out of the lot and keep walking. Like, really, it's a terrible, terrible game that they play. Justin.
Is that how like real estate works?
No. So real estate, funny enough that you asked, thank you for the segue. Real estate is a great, easy way to make money also. When people sell houses, you don't have to have a real estate agent. But then you have to do all of the work on your own, and your work may not be effective. And you might not sell your house. Gene, can you put that away? If I hire a real estate agent and I sell my house more quickly, that will make me money, and most people that currently own a house are paying a mortgage. The longer my house doesn't sell, I have to keep paying that mortgage. And I'm spending every single month. So most people hire a real estate agent to help them make the sale. Now, to buy a house, not that hard. You don't need a real estate agent necessarily. But even if you get one, you don't pay them. They make money off the sale of the house. So somebody buys a house for $345,000. And that's if you go into like Old Worthington or whatever, there's houses worth that easy. And the real estate agent is going to make 3% commission. So Joe, how can I calculate how much money the real estate agent actually gets? Yeah, so we divide this by 100 to turn it into our rate, and we get 0.03. Yeah. Remember, commission is 3% of the house price. Of tells me multiply, so I do 0.03 times the house price, $345,000. Now, if you thought you made a lot selling cars, how much do you make selling this one house, Izzy? Sorry, speak up. 10,000. $350. $10,000. One house. Now do that every month. Now hold up. Go on vacation for 2 months. Don't sell houses during December and January. Only work 10 months of the year. I'm also doing this to make the math easy. Multiply this by 10. Your decimal point moves. And in a year, you would make $103,500. I'm a public employee. Everything is public information. I make a little bit over $40,000 in a year. It would take me 2.5 years to make that much money. Now, I like my job a lot. It's not all about money. But if you do focus hard on money, and you have really good people skills, and you have some interior design skills to stage houses to be sold, you can make a lot of money as a real estate agent. And funny enough, because a lot of teachers have good people skills, one of the most prevalent things that happens when teachers either quit or retire, they go and they become real estate agents. Because they know how to work with people, most of them understand math, they're nice, and they want to still make some money. What? Yeah? Is that what they did? So hold up, we gotta talk about B. So the people that sold the house, we still got 5 minutes. The people that sold the house are like, yay, we sold our house for $345,000. And then the real estate agent is like, well, yeah, but I get $10,350 of that. So to find out how much the seller made, we're gonna take Andrew.
So you would take 10,035 and subtract it from 345,000.
Yep. And the sellers end up in their pocket with, Izzy? Do you think the seller is happy they sold their house? Do you think the seller would be happier if they'd made an extra $10,000? Yeah, but the struggle, the decision is what's my time and effort worth compared to what is just getting this done. Like, you guys probably know this about me by now. I feel like my time and effort is, and this sounds weird to say, I don't think it is that hard to dedicate my time and effort to something, like a bathroom project. But to sell a house, that's a lot of time and a lot of effort. So a lot of people just hire a real estate agent. They'll say, okay, I'm going to say goodbye to a chunk of my house price, but now I've sold my house and I've made my money and I can move. Casey? Yeah. Well, and a lot of that is probably explained by passion. Like, what are you actually interested in? What do you really want to do? So, if we talk about which we would prefer, when we talk about having options, and let's actually skip this got it. We'll come back to this. Let's look at this option real quick. This example. Taylor's got a job at a clothing store. And when she gets the job, they tell her, hey, you've got 2 options of how to get paid. We're going to schedule you 4 hours a day. 4-hour shifts are fairly common. 5 days a week, like Monday through Friday. And you could make $7.15 every hour you work. Base pay. Straight up, that's what you make. Doesn't matter what you sell or don't sell, that's what you make. Or you could probably sell about $200 every time you work, every day. And you're still going to work 5 days a week. We would pay you, if you don't want to take the hourly pay 18% commission. But all you get is commission. Now, assuming this is all right, and she will actually make $200, or she'll actually sell $200 every day she works. Let's look at option A first. If she makes $7.15, so that's dollars per hour. How many hours will they work? because I want to put hours on top now to cancel my units.
Or 4 hours every day.
4 hours per 1 day, and then you went on to say
$5 a week.
$5.
Or 5
5
days.
days, and that would just be over 1. So my hours cancel my hours. My days cancel my days, and I'm going to get dollars per, what was this? 5 days. This 1 is actually 1 week. So we still do have a label. When you're working through these problems where we cancel out units, if you end up with like, wait, what's my label? Check that you actually filled everything in correctly. My 5 days is 5 days per week. So that's going to give me a label of week. So I end up with dollars. How much can she make if I do 715 times 4 times 5? 143 dollars per week. I got to release you guys for today. But when we pick up tomorrow, we're going to compare how much does option B make, which is better. So if you're looking to continue onward, do that. I'm going to extend your due date for the homework to be end of the day tomorrow so that you guys have a little bit of extra leeway so we can get through this lesson. Tomorrow we'll also do your 3-3 lesson for simple interest. So anticipate that, which is what's already written up on the chalkboard for the other class. Have a good day, guys.